Hello, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the 2020 Avodah New Orleans Partner in Justice Celebration. My name is Gail Shalou, and I'm very proud to serve as the chair of our New Orleans Avodah Advisory Council. I am so glad that all of you locals took time from your storm preparations this morning to join us. Maybe by focusing on Avodah and social justice for an hour, we can alter the course of Laura and Marco. How is that for magical thinking? But first, we have a lot to celebrate, and I want to just share some housekeeping pieces. You are all muted. I am obviously speaking, but we want to hear from you throughout the celebration. If you have something to say, and many of you have already done that, please type it in the chat, and don't be shy. We would love you to say hi and where you are, where you're from, and during the program, please be sure to write your comments, support, and shout outs. If you have any tech needs, please chat tech support, and someone will be there to help you. Also, we have closed captioning available, and to access it, just select the closed captioning button on the bottom of your screen. Now, we have a wonderful program for you today. We are so excited to honor some incredible New Orleans justice leaders, Jill Israel and Sylvia Finger, and Jeff and Walton Goldring. We would like to thank all of our generous sponsors for the event, and especially the support of our institutional partners, including the Jewish Federation of Greater New Orleans, the Jewish Endowment Foundation, the Goldring and Waldenberg Foundations, and the Schoenbaum Family Foundation. Please refer to the virtual program book you should have received for the long list of generous community sponsors. And I also have to thank our small but powerful host committee made up of Lynn Wasserman, Harry Lowenberg, and Mark Bihar, as well as the great staff tech wizards that are all members of National Avodah staff, and the development support offered by Tessa Zavalos and Carol Burke. Now today, of course, we're here to celebrate the passion and commitment of our four partners in justice, who continue to fight the good fight despite all the many demands of their busy lives. But we are doing more than that. We are also celebrating Avodah New Orleans, which provides the opportunity for 11 creative and strong young people each year to live their passion for social justice in a Jewish setting. During their year here, they are each a valued staff member at an anti-poverty organization where they interact with hundreds of clients. Particularly at this time, I know you all share my commitment to achieving racial justice. But like me, you may be wondering, what is the most effective thing you can do? Well, let me suggest one way. Think of Avodah as having a multiplier effect. By supporting Avodah, you are not only providing a transformational experience for these young people, you are also supporting 11 local anti-poverty organizations that have a significant impact on the well-being of the greater New Orleans community. We estimate that each anti-poverty organization acquires an amazing Avodah Corps member as staff at an annual savings of $20,000. And the bonus, many of these young people fall in love with New Orleans, who wouldn't, and stay, enriching our Jewish community in the process. And those who've had the opportunity to meet these young people know how inspiring their energy and idealism can be. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Avodah's Chief Executive Officer, Cheryl Cook.
Thank you so much, Gail, for that warm welcome. We're so lucky to have you as the leader of Avodah New Orleans. You're a true champion for our mission. So I'm delighted to first congratulate our incredible honorees, Sylvia Finger, Walton and Jeff Goldring, and Jill Israel. And now, Avodah New Orleans community, thank you all for being here. Every year I look forward to my trip down to New Orleans for the Partners in Justice Jazz Brunch. So while this year is virtual, I'm thrilled to be with you today in this way and to absorb some of the magic and energy of New Orleans through my computer screen. You all know this better than anyone. The New Orleans Jewish community is a special one. I've seen this over time, and especially as I've worked arm in arm with Avodah's National Board Chair, Lynn Wasserman. Chairing an organization in normal times is hard, and especially challenging in times of a pandemic. Lynn, you've been an incredible partner and leader, bringing a sense of calm and clarity of purpose. You are always available to talk and think through challenges and always bring a sense of humor. I'm so honored to get to work with you. Avodah came to New Orleans in the wake of Katrina. What we found was a community determined to overcome, committed to supporting those who were struggling, and eager to do so in community with one another. We're at another moment in our country with the COVID pandemic and with this crucial moment to work for racial justice. The resilience and care that we saw and have seen in New Orleans is a resilience and care that our whole country needs right now. Our next cohort of Service Corps members arrive in New Orleans in the next few weeks. Despite the challenges of the moment, or maybe because of them, we believe that once again, being part of Avodah will help our Corps members face the challenges of our country with strength and resilience, work for justice, and stay in loving community while doing so. I can't think of a better place for our Corps members to live and to live those values than in New Orleans. This week's Torah portion contains words that we know well. Tzedek, tzedek tirdoth. Justice, justice shall you pursue. So why is the word justice repeated? The rabbis teach that the pursuit of justice is not only the responsibility of the courts, but also the responsibility of individuals, of each of us. We're proud that Avodah has been pursuing justice for 12 years in New Orleans in partnership with incredible not-for-profit organizations and in partnership with each of you. In New Orleans, we are proud that 120 Corps members have been through our program here and that they continue to settle in New Orleans, working on the ground to pursue justice. And we're so glad to be part of the New Orleans Jewish landscape. So with that, I am thrilled to hand the next piece of the program over to Donnie Levine. Donnie is Avodah's National Service Corps Director. In addition to all the unofficial roles that she plays on the ground, is part of the Avodah New Orleans community. Before I give her the stage, I want to say that Donnie is an incredible leader. She oversees our program across the whole country. Donnie has worked tirelessly this year to ensure that our Corps members are safe in the midst of this pandemic, while still having an immense impact on the grassroots organizations where they serve. I'm very glad to pass the mic over to Donnie Levine.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cheryl, and a shout out to my Tulane School of Public Health degree coming in handy. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us virtually this Sunday morning. I think this is my 9th Partners in Justice Jazz Brunch. And while we can't be together in person this year, it is still deeply, deeply meaningful to see the way Jewish New Orleans shows up, even in the midst of an impending double hurricane. And I just want to say out loud to all of you that even though my role has changed at Avodah, and I now oversee all of our Service Corps programming across the country, y'all know New Orleans is still my home and always my heart. And I am so proud to be part of the Avodah community and the Jewish community here in New Orleans. And community is being redefined every day now. This is a difficult moment we are living in. The pandemic has impacted each and every one of us. We are redefining what it means to be in relationships from a distance. We are seeing how the most vulnerable in our city are disproportionately impacted by this pandemic. And the toll of systemic racism is ongoing and pervasive. Community is needed more than ever. And being here now, I am inspired and humbled and just happy remembering how important it is of the power we have when we show up as a community here. Our Avodah Service Corps members started their year of service 6 months before the pandemic hit. And then halfway through their service year, though it seemed like suddenly everything changed, the issues they'd been working on before COVID, safe housing, access to healthcare, criminal justice reform, those issues didn't go away. In fact, the issues became even more pressing and urgent and often a matter of life and death in so many cases. I am so proud of our Corps members who continued to serve their placement organizations, working to ensure that their clients could receive services, collaborating across virtual platforms, and continuing to show up in person to provide services to those with no other options. I have been inspired daily by the dedication of our Corps members to keep the work going. I wondered if we wouldn't fill all of our spots for this next year. It's a hard ask to move to a new city and commit to a year of service during the midst of a pandemic. And yet, the Avodah House, it's going to be full in just another couple of weeks. On Thursday, actually, we're excited, hopefully, pending Laura, to welcome a new cohort of Service Corps members to New Orleans. They're ready to pick up the reins of the 12 cohorts who've come before them, serving on the front lines, many doing essential work that is absolutely necessary right now, and what we need to bring about the just world we are all desiring. They are coming to serve our community and to join our community. They will be exploring their Jewish identities, crafting ritual and practice, and learning what it means to become a Jewish justice leader. So thank you for welcoming them with open virtual arms. Thank you to Walton and Jeff and Sylvia and Jill for showing them examples of justice leadership here in our community, for demonstrating how you have engaged your community, our community, in meaningful work, because truthfully, there are a lot of connections between the work that Jeff and Walton have done to support those in recovery and the work that Sylvia and Jill are doing to combat voter disenfranchisement. And all of this work connects to our current moment and the intersections of health disparities and racial justice and the urgency we are all feeling to enact change. Our Corps members are eager to pick up this work and encouraged by the examples you have set. Sylvia, Jill, Walton, and Jeff, thank you for your dedication and for paving the way for our Corps members to keep going. They will keep going. They will pick up where this last cohort left off, nourished by our Jewish values and motivated by the urgency of this moment and the commitment of this community to work for a more just world. So I want to thank you again, everyone here, for your support of this event, for your community, for your support of our Corps members and our honorees, and for your commitment to Avodah to help us keep this work going. If you feel so moved, we'd like to ask you to consider adding a small pledge to the Zoom chat today to support this incoming Avodah cohort. You can also send a silent pledge via private chat to Team Avodah. We are really grateful for their service to our community, and we are so grateful to all of you for your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cheryl and Danny, for all the work that you are doing for our city. And as I mentioned, one really special thing about Avodah New Orleans is that after our Corps members complete their year of service here, 2/3 of them choose to stay in the city and become a vital part of the New Orleans Jewish community. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce one of our talented Avodah alumni who made that decision herself and now makes New Orleans her home. Maddie Fireman came to New Orleans for Avodah 7 years ago and has been an active member of our community ever since. She has served for several years as the NCJW New Orleans State Policy Advocate, and just this year received national recognition for her efforts, being awarded the NCJW Alyssa Froman Inspiring Leader Award. And now Maddie will share what Avodah has meant to her.
Good morning. My name is Maddie Botnick-Fireman. I participated in Avodah, the Jewish Service Corps here in New Orleans from 2013 to 2014. I worked at the Greater New Orleans Fair Housing Action Center, now called the Louisiana Fair Housing Action Center. Growing up in the Reform movement, my Jewish education emphasized the development of my Jewish identity. From middle school through high school, I was encouraged to think about my Jewish identity. what would be its foundation, what rituals, religious and non-religious, would sustain my connection to my faith. Avodah presented a new challenge: to give of ourselves by engaging in sacred work with our community. Avodah was a social justice masterclass. I felt challenged as an activist to understand my role as an outsider, to understand my strengths and weaknesses as a leader and volunteer, and the importance of sitting with discomfort and humility. Jessica, Martha, Elise, Nia, Leah, Reza, Hannah, and David taught me that Shalom Bayit is a group effort and an emotional ongoing process. As intake coordinator at the Louisiana Fair Housing Action Center, I answered all the incoming calls and recorded hundreds of housing complaints from citizens across the entire state. Many were devastating, and most were because of neglectful, inhumane, or bigoted landlords. My takeaways from my year at the Fair Housing Action Center were that housing injustice is just one of countless ways that racism disenfranchises people, and that individuals usually do not know their rights because that knowledge has been kept from them. I'm a devoted student of the Schoolhouse Rock mantra that knowledge is power, and people can't discover their power if they're kept from knowledge that should belong to them. Avodah taught me about the systemic barriers that keep people from their rights and their freedoms. After Avodah, I got involved with reproductive justice storytelling and learned about medical gatekeeping and the ways in which women and children's intelligence are undermined in medicine. I am pursuing a master's degree to become a certified child life specialist, someone who helps children understand the hospital experience and gives them a sense of control through educational play and developmentally appropriate language about procedures. I trust women's intelligence about their own experiences, and I believe in children's right to be heard in a medical setting. Through their work, Jill, Sylvia, and the Goldrings help New Orleanians access their own power by educating people on their rights as voters, and by teaching individuals to master addiction with their own tools and strengths. My maternal ancestors have lived in Louisiana for over 100 years. My great-grandmother came to New Iberia when she was 3 years old from Russia, and her son, my grandfather, B. Botnick, served as the South Central Regional Director of the Anti-Defamation League for nearly 30 years. Having the Botnick name helped me connect with the New Orleans Jewish community and the social justice community. I do my best to honor my family's legacy through continued social justice work and involvement with the New Orleans Jewish community. When Donnie interviewed me before my year of service began, I asked her what sets Avodah New Orleans apart from Avodah in other cities. Donnie answered that in bigger cities, there are many, many Jewish organizations doing good work, but in New Orleans, there's only one Avodah. Avodah New Orleans is different because of you. Thanks.
Thank you, Maddie, for sharing how Avodah has shaped your life. And thank you for staying in New Orleans and being so involved in the community. One of my favorite things about attending the Partners in Justice Jazz Brunch each year is the reception before the program. It's a great time to visit with old friends and meet new ones. And it's also a time when many in our community are able to meet and greet our incredible Service Corps members. Unfortunately, we couldn't host a traditional reception or provide brunch. We're sorry about that. But we're going to try something new. We value community at Avodah, and we want you to get to know some members of the community that you're part of here this morning. So in a minute, we are going to send you, each of you, to a breakout room where you'll have the chance to mix and mingle with a smaller group of Avodah staff, current participants, alumni, and other members of the Avodah stakeholder community. You'll be able to unmute your microphone if you'd like to speak, or you're just welcome to hang out and listen. The virtual reception will last for about 10 minutes, Then we will automatically transport you back to the main room, and we'll continue the program with the presentation of our awards. Okay, here we go. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had the chance to connect with a few old friends and maybe make some new ones. I know that felt certainly much too short, but we want to get to the most important part of our program, our incredible 2020 Partners in Justice honorees. And by the way, the music that you've been hearing and enjoying this morning is from Alex Owen and the Messy Cookers Band, a group whose founding members first came together when they were in Avodah Service Corps members in New Orleans. You may have guessed how the band got its name, as the Corps members often made communal meals in a very tiny kitchen. It is now my honor to introduce Temple Sinai's Chief Rabbi, Daniel Sherman, and Rabbi Emeritus Edward Cohn to present our first Partners in Justice Award of the day. It is very appropriate for them to present the award to Jeff and Walton, not only because the Goldrings are longtime members of Temple Sinai, but also because Temple Sinai has taken a leadership role in the Jewish community in supporting people in recovery.
On behalf of your Temple Sinai family, Jeffrey and Walton, we want to say Mazel Tov. We're so proud of you, and please know how much we appreciate all you do for our congregation and our greater community. We think it's wonderful that you're being honored today.
Jeff and Walton, Rabbi Sherman said it perfectly. We are so very pleased and honored to be a part of this celebration for all that you are doing and being celebrated by such a great organization as Avodah. You know that Avodah has had several meanings in Hebrew. Originally, it meant sacrifice, and that is really translated, I think, in our own times as selflessness. And the two of you really are selfless in your dedication to other people and their welfare. And then it meant worship. Avodah came to mean worship. And surely the two of you, by pointing out the importance of a higher power, are helping to change people's lives for the better through the organizations that you are working with and that you support. And finally, Avodah is work. And you work. You put yourselves behind what you support. You not only talk the talk, but as it is said so often, you do walk the walk. We're so proud of you. We celebrate you, and Temple Sinai really is delighted to participate in this day of honor.
Congratulations on this wonderful award, and thank you for all that you do.
Hi, my name's Jeff Goldring, and I'm a man in long-term recovery, which means that I haven't had a drink or a drug in over 19 years. I'd like to thank Avodah for honoring myself and Walton and giving us this award today. I believe that it's important for me to talk about my recovery, in public, because it gives me the opportunity to help others. I started drinking and using drugs when I was 15 years old, and I didn't get sober until I was 33. And it didn't happen on the first treatment. It took, 2 treatments and me going through a lot of pain and consequences and a lot of prodding from my, family. And I thought because I graduated from high school and college and went to work every day and put on a suit that everything was okay. And I found out that it wasn't. And so I believe that it's important for me to talk about, my own personal story, because it gives me the opportunity to help others. And the other thing that it does is hopefully it helps to get rid of the stigma that's put on drug addicts and alcoholics. I find that there's a lot of people that are ashamed of what's happened while they were, drinking and using, and because society puts a stigma on drugs and alcohol, that people don't want to, get out and talk about it. But what I've figured out is that people need to be educated on the subject, and and it gives me the opportunities to come in contact and help other people. So again, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to share that with you guys today, and thank you again for the award.
Thanks, Jeff. My name's Walton Goldring, and I'm a woman in long-term recovery, which for me means I haven't had a drink or a drug in over 18 years. I find it's really important to talk about my recovery. I want to thank Avodah as well, and thank Harry Lowenberg and Carol Burke for talking us into accepting this award. When we were first approached, I was trying to put those things together, and I've realized, by us talking publicly about our recovery, it really helps. It helps the community. I can't tell you how many times I've had people come to me just simply because they know I'm sober. I've gotten emails from my children's teachers if they know somebody with a problem. I've had other family members reach out. I've had neighbors reach out to me because they know that I'm willing to talk about it. And if they have someone in their family with a problem, they can come to me. My story is very similar to Jeffrey's. I also got sober at 33 years old. And for a long time, I felt a sense of shame about being an alcoholic and being a recovering drug addict. That's changed. I'm trying to do what I can to remove the stigma of the disease. I do a lot of work with Bridge House, Grace House here in New Orleans. I take meetings there on a regular basis and serve on their board. Bridge House, Grace House, the average client that comes into Bridge House, Grace House has been arrested 8.8 times. It's arresting them is arresting us doesn't stop anything. It just perpetuates it when we can offer people a chance by showing them what recovery really is. And I think that the values that we have in sharing about our recovery do match the Avodah values of I was reading joy. I find joy in helping others by talking about my recovery. I find a collaboration with the community talking about my recovery. I've been able to talk to large groups. I'm also very active with the board of Children's Hospital, and we were instrumental in them opening a new children's mental health facility. And I was able to talk about in front of a large group of the fact that I was in recovery, and I also have had mental health issues, and removing those stigmas and letting people know that there's a chance to get better and for improvement, I think is vital for us to come together. So thank you so very much for honoring us, and we truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jeff and Walton, and Rabbis Cohn and Sherman. We are so proud to honor you today for your courageous work. And thanks, Jeff and Walton, particularly for sharing your stories so honestly and courageously, despite the lingering and very inappropriate stigma surrounding addiction. And one of the benefits of these virtual spaces is that we get to see everyone in their homes. I know that Walton kept looking around, but we loved seeing the cameo appearance of one of your adorable little boys. That was very cute. It is now my honor to introduce Judge Miriam Waltzer to present our next awards of the morning. We're so proud to have Judge Waltzer join us again this year after she was honored with the Avodah 2019 Partners in Justice Award. It is very appropriate for her to present the awards today because she has worked so closely with our next Partners in Justice honorees.
I congratulate all the recipients of the Partners in Justice on their well-deserved honors. My heartfelt congratulations go out to their families and friends. It gives me, however, enormous pleasure to introduce my dear friends, Jill Israel and Sylvia Finger. They are both most deserving recipients of the Partners of Justice Award. Their strength of character and their unwavering service to our community, albeit to our country, is an example to us all how we have to help to repair a broken world. They have spent and are spending sleepless nights how to carry out voter registration in an environment that hobbles contact, that requires utmost ingenuity to reach, register, and persuade citizens to cast a vote. Together with numerous volunteers, they collate venues for flyers. The flyers are in Vietnamese, English, and Spanish, drop-offs for the materials, teaching of students how to register by computer, writing lists of churches, business enterprises, restaurants, and other establishments who will allow information to be delivered and disseminated. They do this with a smile and a sure hand. Jill should win a separate and distinct award for never losing her cool or temper, her infinite patience and outstanding technical know-how about computers and Zoom. She fashioned an online sign-in list for many volunteers who diligently fill the slots about who can do what and when. If we were lost in the world, she'd be our trusted guide. Just a bit of Jill's involvement. After retiring from Entergy, she undertook lots of volunteer projects. She is a member of the executive committee of Tura Synagogue Board. She has been the treasurer and now is the chair of the Building and Grounds Committee. She is the chair of the Jewish Endowment Foundation's Governance Committee and a chair of the ADL, focusing on programs to educate pupils of our schools in the southern region. Voter registration has consumed most of her time in the last 3 years, hence 9,000 new voters culled from everywhere by 250 or more volunteers. She's a member of the League of Women Voters. She and Sylvia have nurtured and created a nonpartisan coalition co-led by the National Council of Jewish Women called Engaging New Voices and Voters. Jill and her husband Dave have 2 adult children. Sylvia has a talent that's inborn. She is a diplomat, and no matter how tough things get, she's friendly, persuasive, and organized. I am in awe. When a person accosted her and called her a socialist for her voting registration efforts, not a compliment this, she hugged the woman and said to her that they have always been friends and nothing would change that now. Sylvia is an immigrant from South Africa. She and her family have always been involved in the Jewish community in New Orleans. She has served on the board of Shir Hadash Sisterhood and in various capacities at Shir Hadash Synagogue. She has led successful fundraisers and her capacity as Vice President of Programming. At the end of 2017, she joined the National Council of Jewish Women Public Affairs Committee as Voter Rights Mobilization Chair. In 2018, she helped to establish a voter right coalition with the League of Women Voters. Jill became chair of the Voter Services Committee at the League of Women Voters a few months later, and Sylvia's is co-chair of the coalition. Since the inception of Engaging New Voices and Voters, Over a dozen organizations have joined the coalition. Sylvia received the National Council of Jewish Women President Award for outstanding efforts in voter registration. At the National Convention in Washington, D.C. in 2019, she was part of the New Orleans group to receive the Social Change Champion Award. Sylvia is a speech-language pathologist and learning specialist with an active private practice in Metairie. She has been married to Dr. Israel Finger for more than 50 years. She has 3 children and 8 wonderful grandchildren. Jill and Sylvia are friends and role models for many. Avodah could not have chosen better partners in justice.
Good morning. Thank you, Miriam, for that sweet and over-the-top introduction. It is an honor to have been selected by Avodah for this recognition. It is my honor to share this recognition with Sylvia. Our passion is the same, our skills complementary. Together, with many volunteers, we are working hard to reach folks in our community who have not yet registered to vote. Voting is such a fundamental right and an obligation that we as Americans can never take for granted. I am thankful for the many folks in our volunteer army who share the same passion and commit their time and energy to help, to make it as easy as possible to register to vote. They are creative and committed, and their passion makes our work easier. Following the February 2018 tragic massacre at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, I traveled to Washington, D.C. for the March for Our Lives. This rally took place just over a month after that shooting and was organized by the students of Marjorie Stoneman. Sister rallies took place across the country, inspired by these young organizers. These young adults moved me so. They were thoughtful and energetic. They sought to activate the energy that might finally bring about meaningful and necessary changes in gun control laws. Hundreds of thousands marched that day. Deflated by the state of our politics, the divisive partisanship that had stalled any meaningful legislation by our elected officials, I was re-energized by the thoughtful and cogent leadership of Gen Z. It was on my return to New Orleans that I told Joy Braun, my dear friend and traveling companion, that we need to encourage youth voter registration. I was not sure what that would look like, but we each reached out to friends to see how we could make good on this promise. Unbeknownst to me, Sylvia and Miriam and others at NCJW were simultaneously on the same path. I joined the League of Women Voters, becoming its Voter Services Committee chair several months later. Fate put the two organizations together, with Barbara Kaplinsky reaching out to Rosalind Cook. A partnership was forged. I am so glad for the support of these two great organizations and the more than a dozen nonprofit organizations in our Engaging New Voices in Voters Coalition. Our mailing list is more than 300, and over the last several years, we have registered more than 9,000 new voters. We are working harder than ever to find ways to continue our work, with the pandemic shutting down our in-person registration events. We will and must persevere. Let me close by saying how thankful I am for the volunteers who make this work possible. Our vote is our voice, and we are working to ensure that nothing can silence it.
Thank you so much for honoring Jill, me, and our Engaging New Voices in Voters Coalition. We recently met with the Avodah cohort, and we were asked 2 questions: what inspired our work and what sustains us? My first source of inspiration came because I was born in South Africa the same year that the Nationalist Party came into power and instituted a policy of separate development that became known as apartheid. The black voters were removed from the common voter roll, which meant that the majority of citizens were completely disenfranchised and had no voice. And from that I realized that the right to vote is the absolute foundation of any democracy. Fast forward several decades, and I became voter mobilization chair at NCJW. I was lucky to connect with a League of Women Voter Volunteers who were doing weekly registrations at the naturalization ceremony. I joined them with my volunteers, and this became the second source of inspiration. The ceremony is a very moving one, and it's particularly gratifying to register new citizens and give them a voice in our democracy, especially when they may not have had that right in their own countries. My next source of inspiration was the wonderful leaders at NCJW. Judge Miriam Waltzer was my advocacy chair, and she worked right alongside me at every step of the way. Barbara Kaplinski was the president, and without her, this coalition would not have happened. When I came to her and suggested that we form a coalition in order to be stronger, she immediately jumped into action, contacted Rosalind Cook of the League of Women Voters, and invited 12 organizations to meet with us, and Engaging New Voices and Voters was born. We are a nonpartisan coalition, co-led by NCJW and League of Women Voters, and we have a diverse group of organizations participating with us. The goal is threefold: to register voters, to educate the voters, and to help them get out the vote. My most recent source of inspiration was one of our leaders, Ruth, registered an elderly gentleman. He's 89 years old and had never voted because no one ever offered to help him register to vote. That really makes me more determined than ever to reach every eligible high school student so that they can participate in our democracy at an early stage. So those are some of the things that inspired me. What sustains me? First of all, my co-chair, Jill Israel, who not only shares my passion, but she's a strategic thinker, and she has the technical skills of a millennial. Our wonderful core of volunteers who do vote, help us with the voter registration. We've registered over 9,000 voters. And finally, the increase in voter turnout at the last gubernatorial runoff. And in conclusion, as Jews, we are commanded to repair the world, tikkun olam. And I can think of no better way to do this than to use our vote as our voice. Voting is the most concrete thing we can do to participate in our democracy. Thank you for the honor, and congratulations to the Avodah Corps.
Thank you, Miriam, Jill, and Sylvia, for your passion, your commitment. Your work is so very important in advance of the upcoming election, which will determine the future direction of our country. Now, if this was an in-person event, at this point, I would ask for another round of applause for all our honorees, but please feel free to join me virtually or share your thoughts in the chat. I can hear all the applause, great. Okay, we in New Orleans are very proud of our next and final speaker. She is a local who has taken her leadership skills to the national stage. Fortunately, she also continues to share her wisdom with Avodah New Orleans. It is my honor to introduce my good friend, Lynn Wasserman, the National Chair of Avodah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Gail. I want to add my thanks to Jeff and Walton. What a powerful message you're giving us, and what an amazing set of partners in justice you are. Recovery is vital. It is part of the poverty program that we work on every day, and we're so glad that we've been able to make that connection. Thank you. Jill and Sylvia, my voice is my vote, and my vote is my voice, and I can't think of any partners in justice who are more deserving than the two of you. This is why we do Partners in Justice, so that we can demonstrate for our core members, our Avodonics who are just starting off in life, what justice looks like when you get out of college and you're really working and you're really an adult, this is what justice looks like. It looks like Jeff and Walton, and it looks like Jill and Sylvia. Thank you for giving your time and your efforts and lending your name to this really wonderful event that you've helped us with so much. We really appreciate it. So I'm going to end really quickly because I know we're running out of time. With our virtual fundraiser today, we're really breaking with tradition. Avodah is a young organization, having only been in New Orleans for 12 years. So to use the word tradition in connection with Avodah may seem a bit of a stretch. However, for the past number of years, our tradition has been to hold a jazz brunch. Music, food, hugs, community, laughter, and personal connection. That wasn't possible right now, and it's truly a loss for all of us. But while we sit in the relative comfort of our homes on our personal computers, we know that the underserved communities in New Orleans, which Avodah works for every day, are suffering so much more, especially during the pandemic. Over the past few months, I've been asked the question, while we're getting through COVID, why should we even hold a fundraiser for Avodah? Well, as I mentioned, most of us, while sad and bored and worried about the disease and now a couple of hurricanes, we're watching this call from our comfortable homes. Many, many people are not, and those are the folks that Avodah is dedicated to helping every day. I can't thank enough those of you who have given generously to Avodah for this event and throughout the year. And especially a shout out to those of you who have donated additional dollars during this event. Thank you very much. You're helping us to reach our goal of providing a wonderful home for 11 fabulous corps members who will be here in just a few days. I think you've made a wise choice by choosing to support Avodah. Why? Because every time you give to Avodah, as Gail mentioned, your dollars serve multiple purposes. Your dollars go to train up Jewish social justice leaders for the next generation. When a young person completes an Avodah year, they go on to strengthen the Jewish community's fight against poverty and social justice for their lifetimes. Their work is forever grounded in the Jewish values they learn during their amazing year. And second, when an Avodahnik works at one of our placement charities, that charity receives the benefit of a bright and dedicated worker that charity might not be able to afford were it not for the Avodah model. So donations to Avodah also benefit our deserving placement agencies. Many of these agencies are struggling for funding during the pandemic, but Avodah has committed to these agencies that we will stay the course. So in closing, I want to mention that we have 11 new amazing people coming soon. They're coming pandemic or no. We have a very strict protocol for them to be safe. And when you do get a chance to meet them, whether in person or virtually, I hope that you will welcome them with warm New Orleans hospitality as you have done in the past. Thank you for everyone. Thanks to our honorees, Rabbis Cohn and Sherman and Miriam Walzer for their introductions. Thank you, Gail, for an amazing job. You were wonderful. And our tech team and development team at Avodah. Thanks, everybody. And finally, now for the final piece of our program. Please enjoy more music from the Messy Cookers Jazz Band and a slideshow from our service corps this year. Thank you again for supporting Avodah, and we look forward to celebrating with you in person at Avodah's Partners in Justice Jazz Brunch in 2021. Bye.
Bye.